Super. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And Nikki, thanks for pressing record. Well done. Just a quick catch up. Obviously, we had that great day at Flitwick. Yourselves and colleagues were fantastic, doing a lot of delivery and coach delivery and sharing best practice with each other. We then went online and we started to explore some different content. So we've done things like the...
Your camera's on.
Where? Well done, guys. Thanks, Henrietta. You pop your name and school in the chat facility. That'd be great. So we can take register. And thanks for going on mute. Well done. So we explored the role of a young coach and activator, why physical activity and sport is important for yourselves as participants, but also as for your colleagues at school and in the local community. We explored that role model, good skills and attributes of a quality deliverer, whether that be a coach or an activator. And then we also did some reflective practice in terms of an action plan for our development. So what do we want to work on? What do we want to prove? How do we do that? We then worked online in terms of looking at what our participants wanted to get from the sessions and what motivated them to want them to come along, and also what motivated yourself to want to be a coach and activator and lead. We explored the steps, principles, the space, task, equipment, people, and we also looked at SMILE, so making sure it was safe, looking at the impact it had, making sure that there was inclusivity, making sure there was maximum participation, there was a learning outcome, there was enjoyment, and obviously that there was success delivered across those different acronyms of steps and SMILES. We also reflected once again on our delivery and how we might improve that. So always looking at improving what we were doing and how we're going about our delivery. Third area, then we looked at our sessions objectives, so our outcomes, what we wanted to try and achieve from each of our sessions, what our participants might like to achieve. So maybe looking at shared goals and how that we work towards those with our participants, getting them to sort of identify what they'd like to achieve from the activities and think about them setting the rules maybe with some guided discovery questions. We also looked at, once again, how we might improve our delivery and how we might take that forward. So once again, every time we were doing our sessions, looking at what we did well, so what went well, and then looking at that even better if, the EBI. So we love an acronym in sport, don't we? But I think it helps just to remember. So that's steps, principles. We have the space, task, equipment, people. I mentioned SMILES earlier, and obviously the what went well, WWW, and EBI, even better if. Today is about our philosophy and ethics. So for me, this underpins a lot of what we do and looks at our values and feelings in terms of why we deliver, how we deliver, and what we deliver, and who we're delivering with might impact on that. So today we're going to look at understanding what our coaching philosophy might be. We're going to look at how we develop our philosophy. So for me, I started a number of years ago with the FA as football as my background, as very much a dictatorial coach. So stop, stand still, you're not in the right place, you should be doing that. When that happens, you should be doing this. So it's very much me telling them what should be happening rather than what I do now, which is more, okay, so we've lost possession there. How did that happen? What could we have done differently to keep possession of the football or the hockey ball or basketball, or whatever the invasion game might be that we're delivering, and get the participants to tell us what they think they could have done better. So I'm very much a guided discovery, player-centric deliverer now, especially in grassroots sports, which I think is probably what you will start doing when you're delivering within your school environment or in your local community club. So asking the participants what they know, what they might do to change things. So you're understanding their knowledge rather than that dictatorial of you're doing this and you're doing that. I like to have thinking players. I like players to use their own initiative, try things out. They might make mistakes. And if they do that, that's okay. But it's about, well, how can we learn from that? What will we do differently next time? So we'll also cover teamwork, so working with others, especially when you're delivering as a group, and also looking at how our participants might work with each other and how they might engage with each other. you'll tend to find there might be a dominant person within a group who wants to lead all the time. And actually, it's having those softer skills to engage with the other participants so that they have a voice and they are able to be heard in terms of their ideas. So we'll cover those areas today. And then once again, like we've done in a number of our sessions, we'll evaluate and reflect on our overall learning and look at sort of best practice. So I just want you to have a think about the game Piggy in the Middle. And we did this when we did the day at Flitwick, where a number of you came up with different types of games and activities. And some of you kindly did the Piggy in the Middle game, or hot potato, as some of you described it. Now, as soon as we start having defenders, whether that's active or passive defenders, it starts changing the activity. So before, using the step principles again, we were passing the ball to each other, whether that's a bounce pass, shoulder pass, chest pass. And then we introduced a defender. So that participants, we changed the environment, we changed the session using our step principles by changing the number of participants who were attacking, so keeping possession of the ball. And then we put a defender in. Now, we started off with what I would call a passive defender, so they weren't trying to intercept and get the ball back too dynamically. They were more sort of trying to get in the way and trying to get you think about moving into space and think about how you would be able to pass your teammates and how they could move into space to help you do so. Once we did that, we obviously then made that a bit more dynamic, and that person could intercept and catch the ball. So in terms of that activity, can you think about what might happen when we add in that element of competition? So whether it's passive or whether it's a sort of a more dynamic defender, just in the chat facility for me, have a chat amongst yourselves first, but pop in the chat facility what happens when we add an element of competition in sport. So have a little think about that and then pop it in the chat facility, please. And Henrietta, I think you've just joined us again. Thank you for doing so. Thanks for going on mute as well. And like that, we have a winner of the game. Yeah, can do, yeah. How might the participants feel? And it might be different for the different roles that they're playing. So the defender might feel differently to the attacker, maybe. Or teammates become more competitive like that, Tilly. Good. Yeah, they do. They might get upset if they lose. Yes, Sophie. So actually, we might have to manage their behaviour if they lose possession or their teammates lose possession, and they may start getting upset with their teammates and blaming them maybe for losing the ball. By adding in that defender, does that create a bit of stress maybe? And a bit of urgency maybe with the participants trying to pass it quicker? Does that increase the tempo of the game? So before, is it quite chilled that we're passing the ball to each other? If there's anything else to add, please do so. Just check if anyone's typing away. If you're happy, that's cool. Okay. So also in the chat, have chat amongst yourselves if you're with a friend and a colleague. But have a little look at that question now. So why do we come to the decisions around the rules that can be added in and the methods for improving that game or activity in terms of the team. So have a think about why we come to certain decisions and maybe what we might do to adapt the rules to improve that game, make it harder, make it easier. What might we need to know? So just pop it in the chat. What might we need to know? Brilliant, Tilly. Yeah, we need to know their abilities, because if they're not as physically literate as other people in the group, actually they might find that quite challenging to perform the bounce pass, the chest pass, the shoulder pass, whatever the technique they might be using. So we may think about the differentiation. There might be some that are more physically literate, and actually we change the way that they can receive the ball. They might have to catch it one-handed rather than two-handed, maybe, in pig in the middle. We might change the equipment. But yes, I think, Tilly, you're right. The abilities will definitely influence. We may put, if someone isn't as physically literate as their colleagues, we may put a second or a third defender in, depending on the numbers. So abilities is useful to know, but also numbers of our participants. And if we know that beforehand, we can plan for 4 aside, 3 aside, 5 aside, depending on how many people we have in our group. And obviously we can be flexible with that as well. Just a quick question. Should we give our participants different roles? So should they be attackers? Should they be defenders as well? Would that affect our decisions? So pop it in the chat facility. So would our objective or our learning outcome be that we want to be able to know how to defend and also attack? Would we make sure our participants were able to do both? Just need a simple yes in the chat. Or no, we don't need to do that. Conscious people might be tapping away, so please do so. Sorry, Maddie. Yeah, the question again. With our participants, would we want them to be able to understand the principles of defending and attacking? Would that affect our decisions around how we might change the rules, as in they might do different roles? Would that be useful to have? Yeah, good. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, get them to do both. I think so, Lily, because then you understand, well, if I'm a defender, what makes it harder for me if an attacker does something? Well, if they move into space and make it a bigger area, obviously that's much harder for the defenders. So actually, when you're defending, you're trying to limit the space and reduce the space for the attackers. And when you're attacking, then you know that one of the principles is to create space, to find space, to explore that space. Good. Excellent. Well done. Okay. Just have a think about fair play and sporting behaviour. Do we have to think about the decisions we make as leaders with our participants in terms of creating a positive team culture or a positive environment? What do we base those decisions on? What do we try and evoke? What are we trying to do? So by being fair, We're trying to be positive and encourage them. Brilliant. Yeah. Love that, Sophie. Like that. And then we teach them about different methods, attacking and defending. So if they lose the ball, what might we want to say to our teammate who might have just lost it and lost that possession? Do we chastise them? Do we tell them off and go, oh, why'd you do that for? Or is there a better way of communicating with them? Be encouraging and helpful. Yeah. How might we do that? How do we encourage? What might we say? We could explain the task better. So what they're looking to perform. Tilly, love that. Yeah, absolutely. We might do a physical demonstration for them, couldn't we? Based on that response, Tilly, excellent. And show them that they might make a better angle, better space. Be positive. Yeah, well tried. Okay, the pass didn't quite come off like that, Clara. What could we do differently? And get them to tell us about maybe making a better angle, getting into space to receive the pass. What are we going to say to that person who might be negative? How do we manage their behavior and outlook? So if someone said, oh, why'd you do that for? How can we approach them? What might we say to them? Because I agree with Sophie, we want to be positive, and I agree with Clara, we want to be positive and encourage. But how do we deal with that person who's quite challenging? And don't worry if you don't know, that's fine. Do we want to isolate them and talk about them in front of everyone else? Or why would you speak to someone like that? Or do we do it as a more of a group thing and say, okay, let's make sure we continue to be positive. Let's not have a pop at each other. How do you think we could go about that? Love that, Lily. Point out their positives and things they did really well and show them how to fix their mistakes in the game. Yeah, I like that. Lots of positives. Oh, you did that really well. But we lost possession in that situation. So how did that happen? What might we do differently? Yeah, really good. Make them feel good about what they've taken part in. Excellent, Tilly, yeah. And they're not going to be overnight superstars straight away, are they? So it's a process. It's a developing process where we improve, and the more practice we do, the better we become. Really good, Tilly. Well done, Lily. Really nice insight. Well done, team. Okay. So just have a think again about why you personally want to coach, want to lead. We've done this before, but with our reflective practice head on, have things changed for you? Have you had a go at delivering? And have your reasons of why you want to coach or lead a session with your teammates or by yourself? So Tilly's put to help people learn to love sports and understand the positivity of it. That's superb, Tilly. Has that changed at all for you? Or has that been strengthened by the coaching that you've done or the coaching you've received from your teachers at school or maybe in the local community club that you play in? It's been strengthened. Lovely. Good. So you've enjoyed that ability to coach or to lead and improve others and engage them to want to love sport. Excellent. Conscious there might be a few of you tapping away. Sophie, thank you. For people to have fun and enjoy doing their sport. And has that strengthened or has that changed at all? Or is that still kind of your mantra? I like that. And to help children understand how sport can help them and be a good thing. Thanks, Ellen. Sophie just put still think the same. Good, excellent. So it's reinforced why you want to take part and why you want to lead and coach. And I love that in terms of how sport can help. We obviously covered that 5 years to live longer by doing sport at a younger age group. We hopefully will live 5 years longer. That's a massive impact. Good. Well done, everyone. Okay. So is there anything that different from what you've just said that excites you about being a coach? Maddie's put to help them be close to the other people playing and make new friendships. Love that. To create fun sessions and keep everyone happy. Yeah, brilliant. Well done, Lily. Well done, Maddie. That's a nice thing to do, isn't it? It's a great way of giving back. The fact that you have enjoyed sport and you've enjoyed your teachers and your coaches delivering what I hope is a good experience, not quality of delivery. Not necessarily technical, but the enjoyment. Nikki's put to see my players improve and how that makes them feel. Yeah, hugely important. And being strong role models as women, engaging with that age group of young girls coming through, young women coming through and inspiring them to want to participate. And also maybe lead in the future. All the children smiles as they leave the sessions. That's just excellent, Ellen. Love that. Really lovely. That excites you about being a coach. What a great way of describing it. Thank you. And this is an interesting one, and it might relate to something that you've just said in the chat already, but why do you want to work with beginners or those that might not be so active at the moment? I think you kind of highlighted a few of that already, but is there anything else to add? If not, say no, we're all good. But is there a specific reason why you want to work with beginners or those that aren't particularly active that's different from the content you've put there? To show them what sport can do for them, what doors it can open. Yeah, you might end up having a career in sport. Then that might not be as a participant. That might be as an analyst. That might be as a, I don't know, maybe a sports correspondent writing about sport. To show them how fun sport can be. Yeah. So you tend to find that people go, oh, I don't really want to be playing sport because I'm not really a team player, or no, it's not for me. And it may be that they've just had a bad experience, maybe with maybe another coach or maybe another participation, or they haven't found the right sport for them. Lily's put to watch them improvements and help them grow to love sport and make sport fun for them. Brilliant. Well done, everyone. Okay. So in terms of a philosophy, as I said to you before, my coaching philosophy has changed somewhat in terms of my style and my manner and what I have in terms of my beliefs and my principles now. But your philosophy captures what you value about why you're doing the delivery. And it will hugely affect your role. If you're a positive, upbeat, friendly, we're not their friends, but we're friendly coaches, you'll find your participants will hopefully have fun, enjoy their activities, and walk away with smiles, beaming smiles on their faces. If you're going as a bit of a grump, and I've seen a few coaches like that who are a bit grumpy, and actually to get a smile out of them, you feel great, but they can be a bit grumpy sometimes, and you don't get much from them. It's a bit old school, but it can happen. So if you're upbeat and you're positive and you're fun and engaging, but safe, and obviously set the boundaries for your participants, then I think that's a really nice balance to have when you're delivering. And that approach underpins your beliefs and your principles, making sure you're inclusive, making sure that everyone can participate. Utilizing your coaching skills, your leadership skills of the STEP principles, making sure you change the space, the task, equipment, people, so that make it harder or easier for participants depending on their physical literacy skills, so that they all get something from it. And that comes back to that smiles, isn't it? In terms of making sure it's safe, it's really important. Making sure that there's maximum impact in terms of inclusivity and participation. Making sure there's a learning objective, so there's a purpose to why you're coaching. So you might be working on keeping possession. That might be your topic for that particular week. And you get to understand from the participants about their knowledge of how they keep possession of that game or ball in that game of pig in the middle. Say, I've changed from a very much a dictatorial stop, stand still, you're doing that wrong, you should be there, to a very much, okay, so what do you think went well? What could we improve? What would be even better if? And as I say, that really has an influence on how you behave. Your voice, your tone, your manner, the color of the shade of your voice as you talk to people. Especially if they're kids, you might get a little bit whispery and fun and talk about, we're going to play rats and rabbits. We're going to play foxes and farmers. Kids don't even know the game, but they're going, yeah, because it's exciting. And it's having that ability to be engaging, enjoyable and fun, but be able to have that ability to keep them engaged and not go too far, too excitable, too far beyond and maybe a bit silly. So having those boundaries are really important. So we have to have a friendly approach because we want to be approachable and want to be engaging. But we also have to make sure that they're safe and they understand the rules. Empower the participants to make the rules would be something that I would encourage and I found very useful. And that would be part of my coaching strategy and philosophy is I try and learn all the participants' names to make sure they feel valued and part of the session. I try and make sure that they feel that they are affecting the session. They come up with some of the changes of the STEP principles maybe. And also one of the words that I've stolen from another colleague was trying to be authentic. So being me as I deliver, I think that's a really important thing for me is my style, my manner, my approach, the way I do things. I'd like to be me rather than try and copying another coach who I still think are great and look up to. And of course, you'll be influenced by your teachers, by your community sports coaches that you like and think that are really good at what they do. And you'll pick up the best things from them perhaps, but then you're authentic, you deliver in the way that your personality comes across. For me, being fair and equitable is really important. So understanding about the rules, making sure the participants make the rules and that they back them up. Making sure that they know how to behave in the sessions I think is really important. They set the rules about what they should do. Well done, team. Hope that helps in terms of explain a philosophy. So I quite like this particular slide that the Youth Sport Trust have developed and evolved. And this has changed over a period of time. We're always, once again, reflecting and looking how we can improve things. There'll be certain beliefs and principles that you have, that maybe because of the way that your mum, dad, whoever has brought you up, maybe the influence of other teachers on you, your community coach, maybe your friends, family. And then because you've got those certain beliefs, you might have a bump in the road in front of you. So there might be a player that cheats in the game that you're officiating or that you're leading. They might show disrespect. There might be a participant that's maybe had a head injury, but they still want to play on, but you know they shouldn't, because obviously it's a head injury and we need to make sure that they're okay and check that out in the right way. And the way that we respond is based on the way that our beliefs influence us. So if you go, actually, I might try and bend the rules a little bit so I can understand why they might have done, you might go, oh, okay, we'll play on, in terms of that player taking I wouldn't say they cheat, but they're taking the rules to the extremities. You may not be upset if someone's disrespectful towards you. You might go, oh, I'll just ignore that because they're just being a bit silly. Or actually, you might take quite offense to it. So it's how your beliefs have affected that will dictate your response. And from that, you might experience different consequences to your actions. So if you don't nip it in the bud where someone's maybe being a bit challenging and maybe using unacceptable language or behaving in an unacceptable way, and you don't pull them up on it, does that then influence the rest of your group that they might behave in that way? Well, it's okay because someone so-and-so behaved in that way and Stu didn't do anything about it, so I'm going to copy that. So it's knowing when to step in, knowing when to influence something, knowing when to stop an activity maybe, especially if it becomes unsafe. And then from that, I think that gives you experience, doesn't it, in terms of actually, what would I do differently? Because at the stage you're at in your coaching and leadership careers, you might not feel that confident or may not be that experienced in dealing with challenging behavior and people challenging your philosophies and your beliefs in terms of fair play or the way that you communicate with other people and treat other people. And they may have different expectations and behavior than you would want. And it's thinking, well, what would I do differently to challenge them and speak to them about it? But obviously in a positive way, in a kind way, but dealing with it so that there isn't inappropriate behavior moving forward in the future. And I think coming back to that circular pattern of why we do things and how we do things, and we reflect on it, was that the best way about going about it? I think is really important. So this slide here, this diagram, really helps you to develop your coaching philosophy and leadership philosophy. Okay, there's a link that Nikki's going to kindly put into the chat facility. This is about Tawana Flowers, who's a coach, and this is about what the participants in that, or her participants, sorry, that take part in her basketball team, think about her. So Nikki's going to kindly pop that in the chat. Please have a watch of it and see what they say about Tawana. Thanks, Nikki. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance of watching that video. Just in the chat facility, can you just pop in anything that strikes you from that video? So what they said about Coach Flowers, what sort of role she took on, what sort of interest she took into her participants. Was there anything that struck you from that particular video? Oh, lovely, Lily. She worked hard to make the team feel like a family and set them lots of goals, which you might not do with your younger ones so much, because she said that she was quite a taskmaster in terms of making them achieve. The parents trust her with their kids. Love that, Ellen. What a brilliant woman. She fed them too. Yeah. I'm not saying that you need to feed all your participants, and there may be issues with, obviously they might have a medical reaction to food that you might think of giving them nut allergy or something like that. So don't give your participants food. But yeah, what an amazing woman in terms of amount of vested interest she put into those participants. Now, we're not necessarily saying you have to do all that, but that was her philosophy. That's her style. That's her strategy. That's the way that Coach Flowers did things. So in terms of developing your philosophy, there's a bit of a sort of a brain here and a sort of what you might want to say and what you might want to think about. So what's important to you as a coach? So here you've got personal qualities, and it might be a skill that you've acquired through. So what's important to you as a coach when you're delivering? So as part of your philosophy, what do you want to achieve? While you're doing that, Sophie's she treated them like the person they were rather than the athlete they are. Lovely. Oh, Sophie, well done. So what's important to you as a coach? We know we want them to have fun, enjoyable, smiles, but how do you achieve that? What sort of things might you do? How might you behave? How might you go that extra mile? Let you tap away. So how are you going to behave in this session? What's going to influence your coaching philosophy? Okay, so Lily's put, I want to give them the best opportunity to help them find the right sport. So you might do a different sport every week. So actually it might be a multi-sports approach. You might try dodgeball with them, might try, I don't know, hockey, football, netball. So different sports that they might like to try. Might even be archery, indoor archery that we did at Flitwick. So give them a range of activities, Lily. I like that. So encouraging them to try new things. So to help introduce them to sport and what it can do. Okay, so you're then trying to, I think, Ellen, from that, explains to them the benefits of being physically active. So their mental well-being and the physical well-being, and how that can improve them as in terms of their feelings and their and also as physical skills, the participation skills. Tilly, I like that. So you're now coming at from to understand what they like doing. So you're actually going to be listening to them about what exercises they like doing or what sports they might like doing, and then build upon that. And also maybe highlight different sports that they might be able to access and learn to enjoy as well. Good. Especially if they're non-active, as we described earlier. Well done. So you're thinking about your style, your approach to the session now, being that role model, guiding them, suggesting how they might evolve and develop in terms of as an athlete, but showing an interest in them, finding out their name, finding out a little bit more about them. What makes them want to come to the session? Is it because their friends come along? Or is it because they actually want to feel better about themselves through that sport? And here's a number of different values that you might want to take, and we'll obviously share this presentation with you so you can reflect on this before you go back and deliver your next sessions. Is it that you want to encourage inclusion? Is it you want that participant to be the best they can be? Is it that you love developing young people and you want to encourage them to do that? Is it that you want to teach the game that you love? A lot of this stuff you've captured already earlier, which is fantastic. But these different values will influence your philosophy and the way that you approach your sessions. Okay. And it may be that you pick out one or two of these values. So have a little look. And then away from this presentation, you might want to list those values in terms of more significant and least significant. It may be, for example, that you want everyone to have fun. And that might be more important than developing the young person. So your session's more light-hearted, it's more fun, it's more about play, and maybe it's more about playing the game, then breaking it down into, okay, some coaching aspects of how we release the ball, how we pass it, how we receive the pass. So you might not be as technical, you might be more about the emotional, the social side of things of your session with your participants. So of course the content will be more about actually playing the game rather than going into specific coaching points and maybe stopping and asking them specific technical questions. Here's just a bit of an ethics dilemma. So you're in the middle of running a volleyball practice with your under-16s county team when your star player, Jane, begins yelling at a teammate who missed a dig. Jane then stomps off the court and doesn't return. And one of your team rules is that players must attend all practices if they are to play in games. However, the game you'll be playing this weekend is one that determines the county championship. Do you suspend Jane for that game? Or do you let her play? Go on, then, in the chat facility. What are you going to do? Are you going to suspend Jane? Or it's an important game, though. Do we want to win the game? This is where we find out whether people are more competitive than others. So in that chat facility, do we suspend Jane for having a pop at her teammate and then storming off? Or do we say, okay, Jane, look, that behavior was unacceptable. You can't repeat that, but make sure you can play in the game. Maddie, I think they should suspend her. Go on, tell me why, Maddie. I like it. So Ellen said, talk to her, explain you can't talk to people like that, and listen to what she has to say before deciding which way you go. Oh, Ellen, oh, okay. Ellen may be a bit more competitive. She wants the team to win. Maddie said because she was disrespectful to a teammate. Yeah, she's not a teammate, is it? I mean, teammate, it says it in the whole thing. You're supposed to be their mate. You're supposed to be their friend as a participant playing with them. Obviously, as coach, we're friendly. We're not their friends. But as teammates, you like to think they're on each other's side and helping each other and encouraging each other. Lily's speak to her about how she needs to be a proper teammate and how she needs to change her attitude. If she changes, you might let her play. Whoa, okay. I think Lily might be competitive as well. She wants to win that game. So actually making a thing about it. Yeah, interesting. So you can see how we all have different approaches based on our background and our experiences. And that will influence our philosophy and our approach to this situation. Good. Well done, ladies. Okay. So here you go. This is an interesting one. And this might change as you deliver. So just try and write down in the chat what you think your coaching philosophy might be. So it might be you need to think about words that describe you as a coach or as a role model. It might be something about what your participants say about you as a coach. So we come back to Coach Flowers, how supportive she was. It was a family thing. They even referred to her as a mum. Now, we're not asking you to be their sort of second mum, but you're in a position of trust. You're a leader. You've got roles of responsibilities. And also words that might describe what your participants actually do say about your coaching. Is it fun? Is it engaging? Is it... While you're doing that and have a think about it, Nikki's put reminder of the club code of conduct she signed. Brilliant. Like that, Nikki. So hopefully there's a code of conduct in terms of what's acceptable behavior that you've set and used and shared and combined as a team goal, as everyone does, so they know what's acceptable behavior. Brilliant. Love that, Nicola. So think about your coaching philosophy. Are you going to be quite a strong coach, but fair? So you're strong on your boundaries of behavior, but you're fair with them. Are you a friendly coach that is a bit more chilled in terms of their behavior? Are you a coach that plays games all the time, or will you actually go into specific technical information? What are you going to do with your group? What's going to be your approach? And does that change depending on the age and ability of the participants? And trust me, there's not a wrong answer. This is how you feel. And as I've pointed out to you before, my coaching philosophy has changed massively due to the influences I had about how I was educated as a coach. So it's not set in stone. You can change, you can develop, you can adapt, you can be flexible. I can sense people having a real think about it. And it's hard to put into words sometimes. Okay. I know it's tricky. So what we might do is just have a quick look at this video. So Nikki's going to kindly put this coaching philosophy example into the chat facility. Have a watch of that. It's 4 or 5 minutes long, but it's fascinating. And you might start picking up some ideas about how you might describe your coaching philosophy. Because it's YouTube, there might be an ad. So hopefully you found that video quite useful. I think from 3 different coaches' perspectives, they some have changed their philosophies. Some obviously get involved with the athletes and get them to sort of share goals and talked about sort of being the analogy of the driver and ask them to perhaps push them more or not so much in terms of their drive towards an achievement. But I think all of those coaches have developed their philosophy over a period of time, and you might not have it straight away in terms of what you think is the best way, and that's absolutely fine. But we want you to be driven. We want you to be proactive and have clear goals. That helps you to make quicker and better decisions in terms of having that philosophy. It also helps you to create good relationships with your participants and also become sound, solid role models, because you are obviously trying to aspire to behave in a certain way that's acceptable and guide the participants in terms of behaving in the same way as too. They reflect your behavior. And finally, something you, I think, have done brilliantly over the last sort of 6 months or 5 months that we've been participating in this delivery is being reflective deliverers and practitioners. So you're thinking about, okay, what went well, but what could be even better if? How do we improve? How do we develop the way that we are leading and delivering our coaching sessions? I've highlighted this before, the what went well, the even better if, the EBIs, and what is changing me as a coach leader. How am I getting more maybe self-confident? I might have more self-esteem. I might have more confidence standing up in front of people and delivering. Those will also influence you as well in terms of your philosophies and being able to be an interactive deliverer and coach. So they talk about the sort of next steps of what we're going to start doing that might be different from what you've done before. What are you going to continue to do well? Because I think that's important. Sometimes we forget to say well done. You are doing a terrific job. You are becoming more confident and more self-esteem. And the work you did at Flitwick when we first started was of a good standard. And I'm quite excited about how that develops in the future when we meet again. And there may be things that you might stop doing. So I know as a coach, I was very much I'd stop the session too much and not let maybe things evolve. So there may be that approach to your session. It may be that you don't give yourself enough time to set up your activities. It may be that you don't speak up enough with your colleagues and say, actually, I think we might need to think about this particular bit of delivery. So think about what you might start doing better as a reflective deliverer. What are you going to continue the stuff that you do well, and maybe stop things that you might be able to improve upon. I mentioned, obviously, we did that day in Flitwick. There's another date for your diary, the Thursday, the 30th of March, and we'll be at the Flitwick Football Centre again. So those teachers that are on the session will obviously send this out and confirm it all. But I'm really excited about seeing you all deliver again, and hopefully see that you've grown in confidence from being able to deliver more and be more experienced. That tends to be what happens with somebody that comes on this journey with us. But please put that date in your diary or be aware of it. And then the last thing, because I'm conscious of time, I know we started a little bit later. Thank you once again for joining us today. Thank you for being so interactive. Thank you for being so good with your feedback, and of course we wish you all the best, and keep delivering, keep reflecting on your practice, and that thing about being the change, be that change, influence those young people, inspire those participants, make sure they have fun, they enjoy their sessions, and they keep coming back. Thanks ever so much for everything you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you on the 30th.